people, mind you, had enemies. Had enemies in the sense, people who did not subscribe to their views. Newton, for instance, was deeply immersed in his research, so much so that he wasn't even aware that a fellow scientist of his was jealous of him and wanted to get at him. What a state. What a wonderful state to be in, where you don't even know who's with you or who's against you, because you're at a very high state of thinking. And that's what protects us. And then you feel everyone is one with you. This is a fact. The Gita says, there is no separateness in the world. If you experience separateness, it is in your delusion and your stupidity. Akrutatmanaha, says the 15th chapter a little later. Unrefined people think that. Vimudhatma, stupid people, foolish people think that. The wise understand that yes, there is a physical separateness, but deep down we're all one. This oneness is what matters. At the level of thought, we need to understand that the world and all that it has to offer to us is impermanent. And the moment you understand that, you savor it while it lasts, and you're prepared for it to go. So you're fully insured. This is the insurance that you need to buy. Not, you can't buy it with money, please. This is the insurance that you need to inculcate within yourself. And how can you get this insurance? Only when you understand that there is something permanent in life which will never let you down, never ever let go of you. And what is it that is permanent in your life? I'm not asking you a question for you to answer, I'm asking you to question it yourself. And then the journey to finding this permanency in life becomes so thrilling. And the amazing part of this is, this same world which today is threatening you, which today is victimizing you, then becomes a source of tremendous enjoyment and amusement, because you stand, as Swami Ramatirtha said, stand on the balcony of truth and watch the passing perceptions, emotions and thoughts go by, and you have a wonderful time. Exactly as you have watching a movie. Today when you sit back and watch a movie, the movie can be a horror movie, the movie can be a tragic movie, the movie can be a comedy, the movie can be one of a blind girl. But you enjoy everything, all the different roles, the different themes, the different movies, because you are apart from it. You know that it's a passing phenomenon. It's there for you to enjoy. It's there for you to savor while it lasts. Be prepared for it to go. When it goes, you know that which had to go has gone. It's like you keep a beautiful, priceless piece of crystal in your home. The moment you buy it, you must understand that it is fragile. It is breakable. And from that moment onwards, you must be prepared for it to get smashed into smithereens. If and when that happens, understand that which had to go has gone. But if you hang on to it as if it was permanent, then you go through the misery in life. Every little thing that goes, you're sitting there and crying. You have to tell yourself, but human beings die. What are you crying over a piece of crystal? Worst tragedies take place. And you need to develop the strength to be able to take care of that. What are you sitting here crying over little things? This doesn't mean that you should be indifferent to the impermanent. Give it all you've got. Take care of it. Respect it. Like Vedanta says, respect the world, not for its own sake, but because it is a manifestation of God, of Atman, of Brahman. By itself, it has no value. So as you move from the impermanent to the permanent, as you practice these rules of the game of life, what happens is you move from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. You move from being a passive victim to an active victor. Then life is no longer uncertain. There is an element of certainty in your life. Dependability. The human being alone is a trailblazer, a pathfinder, because of this unique capability of shifting from letting the mind and the senses go berserk to controlling them with the intellect, from being a taker. You know how people function. They plan and scheme and maneuver and manipulate for their benefit to such an extent. The only thought is, how does this affect me? Whatever happens, whether there's a tsunami or an earthquake or bird flu or whatever it be, the first and last thought is, how does it affect me? The other day somebody told me, I'm not worried about bird flu. I said, oh really? I'm vegetarian. I don't eat. That's all that matters. The rest of the world can drop dead. Taking versus giving. Contacting the world with a sense of oneness rather than feeling everyone is separate. It's a wonderful way of being. And zeroing in on the permanent aspect of life, then you enjoy the coming and the going of the impermanent. Once you do this, you are able to invoke the power of the Spirit. What do we mean by that? You see, what it means is, basically, each one of us has perfection within us. There is perfection outside. If you look around in the world, whether it is the working in an atom, there's a huge factory in an atom. There's tremendous energy, tremendous power, all kinds of activities going on in an atom. Whether it is an atom or you look at the macrocosm, the galaxies in the universe, everything functions to perfection. Take a look at within us. Our physiology, our anatomy, every cell within us, every organ within us functions to perfection. So then the question arises, where is the imperfection? And yet we know that there is imperfection within us. Where is this imperfection? It lies in our mind, in the desires, in our identification. So what they tell us, basically what the Gita is telling us is that we are all functioning at the lowest level of our personality, which is the body. As long as you are operating out of the body, you will lead a bored, routine, mechanical existence. That's what's happening. You ask anybody, you meet anyone, you smile at people, they don't even smile back. The great difficulty, some of them even actually have to do this. Because the smile is not forthcoming. Everyone is burdened with worries and anxieties. Everyone is leading a mechanical, routine existence. Even in relationships, between husband and wife, between parent and child, is all mechanical. When the husband comes home from work, the wife, oh hi, you've come. As if to say you should not come. The children come home from school. They are also bored. They dump the bag. The whole day they're there with the teachers breathing down their necks. They want freedom. They are fed up. The wife sitting at home or whatever career she is pursuing, she is also fed up. So naturally there's tension, there's friction. Where is the happiness? Where is the enthusiasm? It cannot come as long as you are fooling around at the physical level. The moment you lift yourself to the level of the mind, emotions, the moment you are motivated by an emotional desire. The other day there was a lady who came all the way from Delhi just because she felt the need to be with her niece. Her sister passed away a few years ago and she felt the need to be with her niece. I remember when we were children, I had several aunts and uncles who treated us like their own children. So when you are motivated, and the one family member who was highly motivated with an emotional motivation, ideal, is the one that all the kids had the highest respect for. Yet she was uneducated. She was not in those days they didn't educate girls much. And she used to tell us, so every time we complained, oh, school is boring, she used to tell us, oh, you have no idea how blessed you are. That you actually go to school, that you know how to speak English, and that later you're going to join a college and be a graduate. And we all thought, we used to tell her, happily any day we'll exchange places with you. But in spite of her not having anything, all of us looked up to her, respected her, loved her like no other aunt or uncle, because she had the capacity to do things for us. She treated everyone. She treated me like her own daughter. She treated my brothers like her own son. This is missing today in life. Forget treating your children of your brothers and sisters. Your own children has become a burdensome thing. You ask anyone today, how is life with you? Oh, what to do exam time. As if you are doing the exams. So, the moment you go up, lift yourself up to the level of the mind, you feel enthusiastic, you feel energized, you gain power. Lift yourself still further to the level of the intellect. There's a musician who all his life dedicated himself to music, and he made sacrifices to retain the purity of music. And when he fell ill, the whole world served him. He got 7-star treatment, in spite of the fact that he had no resources, no insurance, nothing to take care of himself. These are the returns. This is the power that a person has. Now what he's saying is, what the Gita says is, rise still further and identify with the spirit in you. Dedicate yourself to the spirit, to Atman. And that opens up a whole new world for you. Give yourself this chance. Today and the next 3 days, you have 4 days, 4 evenings, just a few hours, not even 4 days, to open your mind and heart to the power of the Spirit. And what it does for you is, we have role models from the scriptures. Let's take the case of Nachiketas. Nachiketas was one such person, a little boy, who when he saw his father attached to money, attached to things in such a way that even in a sacrifice, in a yajna, when you are supposed to give, he gave sick and old cows who no longer giving milk. He was filled with Shraddha, they say. Filled with Shraddha because he saw where his father was going wrong. He had no way of communicating. You see, when you see the light and you see people functioning in a negative way, there is nothing that you can do. You feel so helpless. And you're filled with Shraddha, compassion for them. And so, because he was a selfless person, he went up to his father and says, will you offer me in that sacrifice? And the father says, in a fit of fury, he said yes, not realizing that the son would take him literally. Son then decided, Nachiketas decided to go to Lord Yama for Brahma Vidya. Why Lord Yama? Lord Yama, you know who he is? The god of death. The very mention of death makes us quiver. If suppose a doctor were to tell us, go get a biopsy done, that is enough to finish us off. Forget the result. And here is a young boy who had the courage and conviction to go into the face of death. Why? Because he wanted Brahma Vidya so badly that he said, once I fix Yama as my guru, he cannot make me die till I get realization. What conviction. And when he goes to Lord Yama, take this against us. What fantastic excuses we give. Fabulous excuses. The only field in which we are creative is in the field of excuses. Everyone comes out with classic cases. The moment a person gives an excuse, you must understand he really doesn't want it. Whatever it is. Person who wants it will just set aside everything else and do what has to be done. So anyway, Nachiketas, Lord Yama. I'm just cutting a long story short. Lord Yama says he was not there in heaven in his abode when Nachiketas went there. And Nachiketas had to wait for 3 long days for Yama to come back. Nachiketa was a Brahmin boy, means a highly sattvic individual, was deeply respected in society then. And Yama's family members were very disturbed at the fact that Nachiketas was made to wait. A highly sattvic person was made to wait. He was insulted. So Yama, to make up for that, said, I give you 3 boons. Choose whatever you want. Nachiketa's first boon, he said, when I came, my father was deeply distressed. Please appease him. Tathastu, said Yama. That was very easy. Second, he says, teach me Agni, fire sacrifice. Teach me this art of sacrificing for the welfare of humanity. What a fabulous boon to give. If you and I had 3 boons, what would we ask for? Give me 1 billion more than Bill Gates. Teach me this art of doing good to humanity. What a wonderful, it makes your hair stand on end that a person who is asked for a boon can only think of service. And the third, Tathastu, says Yama, and he performs this because he has this tremendous urge to give. He's a giver. He performs that sacrifice with such perfection that Yama was so thrilled with him. He gives him a garland and he says, from now on, Nachiketas, you will be immortalized, because whoever performs the sacrifice itself will be renamed as Nachiketa sacrifice. And then the third boon, Nachiketas very simply, very innocently says, teach me Brahma Vidya. That's when Yama got a little nervous. Not that he did not know it, not that he did not want to give it. He just wanted to make sure that Nachiketas knew what he was asking for. So he said, why do you want all this? Why don't you choose sons and grandsons who will live 100 years? I'll give you all the cattle and the elephants and the horses and the gold that you can ask for. See, we don't understand this because the terminology then was different. It's like saying, I'll give you 1 million shares of Infosys and Wipro and all that put together. And because Nachiketas stood unmoved, he says, I will give you things that are very difficult to get in the world. I'll give you heavenly enjoyments. He gave heaven also. That's when Nachiketas says, all these are transient and temporary, O Yama, and in any case, they wither away. Therefore, Nachiketas will not choose anything other than Brahma Vidya. What conviction! And when you follow this conviction, what happens to you? You become the master. Take a look at Tukaram. Take a look at Mirabai. Take a look at Prahlada. These are 3 people who were hounded by people around them who wanted to kill them. And yet, the powers that be, the Rana Sanghas of the world, the rich and the mighty, the powerful people become completely ineffectual when compared to a person who has gained the spirit, because it's a totally different thing. These worldly people have no idea where they come from, where they get the power from. And yet they have it. This power is accessible to every one of us. Why don't you take it? Why don't you grab it? This is the only thing you're allowed to grab. It's there for the taking. It's there within you. It's there within arm's reach. All you must do is want it. And as they say, you take 1 step and God takes 99 steps towards you. The moment you open your heart and soul to the concept of spirituality, things simply fall in line in an amazing fashion that you never ever imagined. But you must take that 1 step. And that's what the 15th chapter is all about. Once you open your heart and soul to this, you will never turn back. So on the 4th day, on Saturday, you leave this place not an enlightened soul. I'd be telling you a lie if I were to say that. But you will certainly leave with a different perspective, with an enlarged view of life. And that you owe to yourself. We begin with verse 1.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha urdhvamulamadhashakam ashvatham prahuravayam chandasi yasya parani yasam vedasavedaved.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha, in this chapter, Krishna begins himself. In other chapters, in some of the other chapters, Arjuna asks a question. So the chapter begins with Arjuna's question. Here, Krishna perhaps has understood that Arjuna is fully prepared for a further dissertation on Brahman, and so he begins. He says, Shri Bhagavanuvacha, the Blessed Lord said, they speak of the immutable Asvattha. Asvattha is considered a sacred tree. It's also called fig tree or pipal tree, with its root above and branches below, whose leaves are the Vedas. One who knows it is a knower of the Vedas. You know, in Vedanta, in the Indian scriptures, not only is the highest philosophy given in terms of words, but there's a very strong connection with imagery. Very powerful images are put forth to us, which you find difficult to forget. And this is exactly what they want. For instance, that the moment you mention the Bhagavad Gita, what do you think of? What is the image that comes to your mind? Of Krishna, the charioteer, Arjuna, the student, in a chariot. So this chariot example comes up. Then here in the 15th chapter, let's not forget, he's trying to communicate a very subtle concept, the subtlest of concepts, which is Brahman. And he puts it magnificently in the form of a tree. And not just a tree upside down, which you will never forget. There are some people who, when they study the first few verses of the 15th chapter, come back the next day and say, you know, that image got stuck in my mind so much that I dreamt of a tree upside down. Very powerful. So what he's saying is, this immutable Asvattha tree, why does he call it immutable, imperishable? Not because the Asvattha tree itself is imperishable, but relatively speaking, it lives for a long period of time. It has a long lifespan, and also when you cut it, it grows again. So it's relatively imperishable. It has a wide span. It gives protection to the tired, weary traveler, etc. The tree is a very important element in Indian culture. If you take a look at Indian culture, there is a deep respect for nature, for the environment, and therefore never in our ancient past did we reach a state like we have reached now, where there is wanton destruction of the environment. So the only way they protect it is by saying the tree is by conferring divinity on every aspect of nature. Then you will never destroy it. So the pipal tree is considered sacred. The tree is a symbol of existence. In chapter 10, verse 26, Krishna says, I am the Asvattha among all trees. Buddha also gained nirvana again under the Bodhi Vriksha. So, Asvattha tree. Then he says, it has the root above and branches below. He has inverted the image of the tree so that you remember it, but it has a very deep meaning. The root is what sustains the whole tree. You cut the root, it's gone. So the root represents Brahman. Brahman being supreme most, it has to be on top, like a family tree, like an organizational chart. You don't have the chairman of the company put it right down below. Chairman of the company is always on top. Similarly, Brahman is supreme most, and therefore is on top. The root represents Brahman. Another reason for putting the highest on top is that when you look up towards Brahman, when you look up towards anything, there is an automatic feeling of devotion. Therefore, for all these reasons, the tree inverted with its root above and branches below. Asvattha literally means that which does not remain the same tomorrow. Therefore, it represents the world. The world is in a constant state of flux. And in this changing world, the one constant is Brahman, the root. The root is unseen.